And I think it's interesting what you say about cloud. We have a customer now that previously was in a ULA agreement with Oracle. They have perpetual licensing, but they were also considering a move to AWS. So, like you mentioned earlier, instead of being in the unknown and worrying about any compliance issues, they signed up for a 3-year ULA agreement with Oracle. They never actually moved to the AWS cloud, but had to continue paying that ULA for 3 years. Then when it came to the renewal point, they had a change in senior management. No one really knew what was happening. So then that renewed again for a further 3 years. So they spent, wouldn't like to say, but they spent a lot of money, in the millions, over a 6-year period in a ULA agreement that they never used, because they never even went to AWS in the end. They actually changed software entirely. They came to us for a little bit of their perpetual stuff and then moved everything to another vendor. So
Wow.
I think there was somebody on here that's not currently in a ULA and might potentially be looking to go to a ULA, into a ULA agreement. When would you recommend would be the right time to look at a ULA agreement?
When all other options have been exhausted first. um, it is a very good tool if you find yourself growing dramatically. So
Mm-hmm.
rather and growing dramatically, and you're going to standardize on Oracle, right? So if we're growing by 100% a year, and we're going to have 10 times more database licenses in use in 3 years than we have today. That is a great use case. That's a positive use case for ULA, right? You get the most out, but you have to plan those 3 years or 4 years or however long the ULA is. And then you can come out of that with a 98%, 99.9% discount, based on Oracle's price list, which is not the best measure of success of a ULA, but it is one measure. That's one use case. Another use case is um, if you're really out of compliance, right? If you've gone through an audit with Oracle and you've made all the mistakes, you've deployed Oracle, over deployed it, you've given them all the data, you've sent the scripts, you've done the spreadsheets, and they put a $500 million non-compliance number. Hey, you know what? A $10 million ULA, if those are your options. Now, you should never be in that first position where you're out of compliance like that. But if you find yourself having made all the mistakes and now you have your back to the wall, that's another good use case. Obviously, if you have negotiated a really good ULA at a low price, it has proper terms. These are not standard ULAs. That could be another good use case for ULA. So that first one though, if you're really growing,
Yeah.
is the best use case for signing ULA.
No, and I think that is good advice. A lot of our customers who we work with who have certified their ULAs and moved to third-party support, one of the main reasons is because they thought they were going to use more licenses within their ULA agreement. And actually, when you convert it to perpetual usage, actual usage, they're overspending on their ULA agreement. So when they move to what we do in third party, it actually works out to not only half the cost of the ULA agreement, but significantly lower, because what they thought they were going to spend, they haven't actually spent in the first place when they considered the ULA in the first place.